Today I'm gonna do something a little bit different than my usual vlogs. Usually I do like a week in my life kind of vlog in the test kitchen. I thought it would be fun to show you guys how to make a recipe. So I don't know if you've seen some of my content on Instagram or TikTok, but I love making pavlovas. I made this pavlova wreath for Christmas, and then what did I do? Oh, and then I made a pavlova with poached pear and pistachios, I think, in the fall, and then I also made a chocolate swirl pavlova for Valentine's Day. And a dessert that I've been thinking about a lot, and one that I actually tested last week, are these kind of pavlova cups with macerated strawberries in them. And I tested it last week, except for the issue with kind of these old New York City apartments is that a lot of the ovens are really old. Mine is actually kind of on the newer end because the old one was so old. I kept complaining and said that I needed a new oven. But the thing is, we only have space for one of the small ovens, and those you can't get those with like electrical ones, and they all only have the knobs. So this one is really hard to control the heat, so it doesn't go really, it's hard to get it to below 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So last time when I tested them, they got pretty brown and a little bit too dry. So I'm gonna make them again today, and we'll see how they turn out. If they don't work out in my oven, you should trust that at least like they will be able to work in your oven, so you should still definitely make this recipe. They just might look a little better if you make them. They'll still look cute, but they might just look a little toasty, but that's not ideal, but that's okay. So I don't know if you've made pavlova before, I'm sure you have, or with some type of egg white, but it's really important to start out with a really clean bowl. I like to usually, I'm gonna grab some vinegar. I like to grab a little vinegar, or actually, okay, it's fine. It's white wine vinegar. It's not gonna like add any flavor to the bowl, but just kind of go in and wipe the bowl clean. And this just gets rid of any fat that was left over, or fat or grease that was left over the bowl. And it just is gonna help the egg whites to really whip up. Ooh, it's really vinegary. I literally have cut lemons here. I should have probably just used lemon juice instead, but my mind went straight to this vinegar first. Okay. It's also after work, and pavlovas do take a while to make, so it might be dark by the time this video is done, but that's okay. It's more about like the process, and then hopefully it'll be light enough where I can still take a good hero video, because the sun has been setting out a lot later. I need to get a bowl. This is a clean bowl for the egg yolks. And then I have my little recipe right up here. I didn't write the steps yet because I know the steps in my head, so I just have the ingredient right out. And this is actually a book that I got from Le Creuset. It says my name on it, it says recipes on it, and it has like a place for your ingredients and then also your steps. And yeah, I just keep meaning to buy a good recipe book and then I never do, so I'm really thankful that they sent me this, and it's been really helpful so far. I feel like sometimes I will just write my recipes in random places and then I lose them, so this is a good place for me to just kind of have like a one spot. Also, side note, it's finally warm enough, you can't really see, to wear a skirt, so I wore a little skirt and also this to work, and it feels so nice to not have to wear jeans or pants to work. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by cracking in 3 egg whites. Recently, for some reason, whenever I've been separating the eggs and the egg yolks and the whites, I have been breaking the yolk a lot. And oftentimes when I'm separating eggs, it's because I need to whip them. And when you get a little bit of yolk in there, it's not the end of the world, but it definitely, if you get enough in there, or if you're not able to, yeah, if you get enough in there, it definitely can affect how much your egg whites whip up. And then we got the 3rd. These are actually not at room temp, just because I haven't had time. Oh, this one broke a little bit, but that's okay. I haven't had time to let them come to room temp. You could put them in a bowl of warm water. I didn't, I was too lazy and I also kind of forgot, but it's not gonna like make or break your recipe, I will say. Let's grab this. It's my pretty unorganized cabinet. Actually, I've been keeping my sugar in this thing recently, and it's made it so much easier to pour out instead of pouring it out of that. I feel like part of filming at home like this by yourself, it's kind of hard to get the framing right because my counter is only so wide that it's really easy for like a lot of meat to get cut off, but I think we're doing okay. I'm gonna grab my scale. You absolutely don't need a kitchen scale. I honestly just prefer using one because personally, I feel like it's less messy because you can just pour something right into the bowl. And also it makes it so you don't have to use measuring spoons. You can literally just use a spoon to kind of scoop it in. Okay, I'm at grams too, by the way. Also, sorry for the background noise. Hopefully it's not too loud, but I just felt like I really needed some fresh air in here, so I have the window open. Also, I'm looking at my battery life on the camera and it's looking a little short. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, which is about 10 grams. And honestly, I'm not really measuring right now because the scale isn't accurate enough to like get like really small amount of grams, but I think that should be good. But at the end of the day, it's like you can be super, super precise, and it is really important sometimes, but I also think that like if you're just baking at home and you need a little bit of lemon juice like this, like 2 to 3 teaspoons isn't gonna make like a huge difference. So now that I've added the lemon juice, I'm gonna add the sugar, and I'm gonna add half a cup, so it's about 90 grams. And a lot of people really think that you need to use, okay, I need to pay attention actually because I'm gonna go over if I don't. Anyway, as I was saying, a lot of people think that you have to use superfine sugar for pavlovas, but I don't think you do because I have never used it. And also the whole point is you're whipping it for so long that the sugar crystals are gonna dissolve anyway. So whether you have superfine sugar or you have granulated sugar, which is what I'm using, as long as you whip long enough where you don't feel the sugar crystals, like super noticeably at least, then it's not gonna really affect the outcome. Okay, I'm gonna grab my mixer. I love a handheld mixer, except for this one I kind of have a qualm with because I swear like the lowest setting is like a high speed. So I need to get a new one ASAP. Okay, I think I have to grab an extension cord. Actually, you know what? I think it's gonna be okay. I just might have to kind of hold the bowl awkwardly. See if it will reach. Oops. Okay, it's like just barely. Now I'm gonna whip it on high speed because also that's the only option of my mixer. But regardless, whip it on high speed until you have really, really stiff peaks. And yeah, it's frothy, but we already added the sugar, so we're just gonna go for it. I'm gonna pause the video because this is not that exciting. Okay, so I think it's pretty much done. You can see it's super whipped. Okay, here's the part where it could be beneficial for you to prep a little bit. I'm sometimes not always the best at like measing out my ingredients first, especially if I'm just cooking at home. If I'm in the test kitchen, it's a different story, kind of, depending on what I'm doing. I'm just gonna get a bowl. But when I'm at home, I'm a little bit more like loose with it, I guess. So now I'm actually gonna weigh out some powdered sugar, which is kind of what I should have done before. And I'm also gonna add some cornstarch. I sometimes like to add powdered sugar to my pavlovas just because it helps create like almost a silkier, smoother meringue, and it also helps to kind of stabilize the meringue. And that's kind of because it has a little bit of cornstarch in it, but we are still gonna add a bit more because this also helps prevent the meringue from leaking, and that's not super important in this recipe because we are piping them into little cups. If you are making like a shaped pavlova, you want to try to minimize the amount that it kind of leaks, because then it's just, I don't know, it doesn't look very nice and it's just leaking out moisture that could be in the pavlova. I messed that up. So hard to multitask and like measure ingredients while I'm talking. This is actually using a classic French meringue recipe. So it's same ratio of powdered sugar to granulated sugar, so 90 grams each. And this is about 3/4 of a cup. Okay, my camera's gonna die any second. Let's see if I can do this quick. I'm also gonna add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. When I'm making a shaped pavlova, I usually add a little bit more, but again, I don't need that much because it doesn't have to hold that much structure. Now, I'm just gonna kind of sift in the powdered sugar, and I'm also gonna add a little bit of salt, and then we're gonna fold it in. I'm honestly not a huge sifter. Like when it comes to flour, I almost never sift, but it's really important to do it now because powdered sugar likes to clump, and because you're trying to avoid mixing this as much as possible, you wanna avoid having like any clumps. Camera died, so we're gonna see how it goes filming on my iPhone while battery charges in the back. Pretty crazy how good iPhone cameras have gotten now. Like this, I mean, I'm sure you're gonna be able to see a difference in post edit, but it looks pretty good, honestly. And I hate to say it, but it might be easier because you can actually see the screen on kind of like a bigger screen. So now I'm just taking a spatula and I'm kind of gently, or trying to gently go in and mix in the powdered sugar and the cornstarch. Probably should have mixed the cornstarch and the powdered sugar together a little bit more before I added it, but that looks pretty good to me. I might have added a little bit too much lemon because you can definitely taste a little lemon juice. That's okay. I'm also, it can be so messy sometimes. Just turn the oven on to as low as I possibly could get it. The only way I can like hear that it's on is because you can hear the gas going, but I'm gonna show you. It's really hard to tell. Oh, this is what I'm dealing with. See, it doesn't really go below 300. And if I turn it any more this way, it shuts off. And it also runs about 50 degrees hot. I have a kitchen thermometer in the oven, which if you do have a gas oven, or even if you don't, I think it's super important to have a thermometer in there, especially if you bake, because even just, I mean, 25 degrees is usually pretty standard that your oven is off. If your oven is off more than that, it can really, really affect the way your baked goods bake. So I would definitely get one. Again, this is probably something you should prep before you start baking, but I'm also really bad at like greasing the pan and all that before I start baking. So here's the baking sheet. This is the only one that really fits in my oven, so if you have a bigger one, use that. For these meringue cups, I had this vision of baking them in these cute little paper cupcake cups. You can obviously bake them in like a cupcake tin, like, or a regular cupcake liner if that's all you have. These, I just ordered them off Amazon. I think it was like $5 for this whole pack, and there's a ton of them. I think maybe like 50 or so. And I just also think they're really cute, and they're a bit sturdier than regular liners too. So when I tested this recipe, I thought I was gonna get about 12, and I got about 5, but that's because I overfilled them. And then they also kind of like rose up a little bit too much. So I'm gonna try to get 12 this time. My dream would be for someone to come help me organize my kitchen. I don't have a big enough kitchen where that makes sense yet, but maybe one day when I live in a house, I will definitely be hiring someone, because that's not something I'm very good at. Sometimes we'll use a circular piping tip too, but I feel like not everybody has that at home, and you can just as easily just snip this off and it will look fine. If you don't have a piping tip, you could also literally just spoon it right into the cupcake liners. Let's see how much I can fit in here. Meringue though, I feel like is something that I gravitate towards a lot when I bake. It's super common to use it in Sweden. You can buy meringue at a lot of grocery stores. You can buy like meringue cake bottoms, I guess they're called, tårtbottnar, meringuebottnar. Or you can buy meringues, just like mini meringues or bigger meringues in a bag at the grocery store. Because a lot of people make what's called a meringues, and it's kind of like a Swedish version of a etames. But it has ice cream on it and bananas and chocolate sauce, and it's so good. And it's very common for, God, it's so loud. It's very common for birthdays and like summer festivities and stuff like that. It's so loud. Okay, I'm gonna snip off maybe like an inch, like that. And last time, as I was saying, oops, I made the mistake of filling them all the way to the top and they puffed up by like an inch. So I'm gonna just fill them about halfway and we will see. This is my second test, so if it doesn't come out perfectly, that's okay. I feel like Swedish dessert is based on a lot of very light things. Light as in like texture, I guess. So a lot of whipped cream, a lot of meringue, a lot of ice cream, a lot of fresh berries and stuff like that. Rather than frosting with a buttercream or something, you would frost with either a meringue or you would frost with whipped cream. And that's one of my favorite parts of kind of Scandinavian or Swedish baking, because I love whipped cream. So this is kind of a combination of my favorite Swedish dessert that's very common in the summer. It's basically like a strawberry shortcake cake. It's just called like a jordgubbstårta. And it's basically like vanilla custard, which is also very common, princess cake, and sponge cake and raspberries. So this is kind of a combination between pavlova and also my favorite, the strawberry cake, I guess. Okay, so I got to 12. I'm gonna go back in and I'm just kind of filling them up a little bit. Super cute, and oops, I missed that cup. And I think that's a good amount. We'll see if they puff in the oven. I'm praying that my oven is low enough. Hopefully it's at around 200, 225. Again, if you're baking these at home and you have a more normal sized oven, then bake these at, I think 225, I wanna say. I'll have to double check in the recipe. So cute. Okay, so I'm upset. I just checked the oven temperature and it's at like 250. And I don't even think it's fully preheated, so they might be getting a little toasty again. But I'm gonna try to open the door to just cool it off a little bit before I put them in. So I thought I had strawberries, but I don't, so I'm gonna run in the store real quick. They're still in the oven. I think it's fine to leave the oven on just for a little bit. I would usually never do that, but the grocery store is literally a block away, so I think it's fine, and the oven is at a very low temperature. And I'm also gonna get some limes and maybe stop into the liquor store and get some Saint Germain, which is elderberry liqueur, just because that would go really well with the macerated strawberries. And then also I need some mint, I think, but they're actually looking really good. Have been monitoring them and they're not getting too browned, and the oven is staying at like 225, 250-ish. Here's a little sneak peek, and they've definitely puffed. Okay, so I just got back from the grocery store and I was gonna go originally to Green Grape, which is my favorite grocery store ever, and they take so much of my money, except for the strawberries there were, oh, it's done. My alarm just went off. And they actually look pretty good. They are looking a tiny bit bronzed, just because my oven is a little bit hot, but not as brown as last time, so at least we have that. So the berries at Green Grape were 13, they were $12, and then the organic ones, or there was something special about the other ones, they were 20. So I'm really easy, like it's really easy for me to spend a lot of money on certain ingredients, but I was like, okay, this is a little bit crazy. So I went to Mr. Mango, which is just one more block down, and then I got these little, they're called Fruities, teeny tiny strawberries. Oh, it's so wet. I love Mr. Mango because they always have really cheap produce. But look at how cute and small and vibrant these are. They just look too good not to get, and they are all the perfect size. They're all the same size, which I love. But they look really good, so I'm gonna try one. Obviously it's not strawberry season yet, but they are pretty good for only being April. So I'm gonna macerate them now. I'm gonna do strawberries. I'm gonna do some lime. I'm also gonna do some mint. I wanted to add a little bit of Saint Germain too, which is elderberry syrup, but I'm gonna call for it in the recipe, I think, because I do think it makes a difference and it's really good. I just don't have it and I didn't really feel like spending the money on it right now. So it's kind of up to you whether you wanna add it or not, but it is really nice and it's kind of floral and it's definitely a taste that I feel like I didn't like until recently. Now, I love like a Saint Germain spritz, it's so good. Okay, so I'm just chopping these strawberries because they're really small. I'm just cutting them into fourths. Obviously, most likely you're gonna end up with strawberries that are a bit bigger. So I would just say cut them into like 1/2-inch pieces. I'm trying to think about how much I would need for this recipe because I have made these already, but I didn't make it to the strawberry part. I just made it to the burning of the meringue part. I was gonna originally just do 1.5 cups of strawberries, but I think I might do 2 cups of strawberries, or 2.5. I almost just completely forgot to add the mint too. So good. Okay, so I have mint that's not very exciting. It's a little bit wilted. You can see the bottom's not looking that great and then the top is looking okay. But I am really trying to use up what I have at home and not throw away so much food. So I think we can make it work. I'm just gonna pick off the leaves that are mostly green. And then I'm gonna save some of the really small cute ones for decoration later. If I lived in a slightly bigger apartment with a little bit more sun, I would definitely consider having like a little indoor garden type of thing. I've been seeing a lot of people have those on TikTok and it just looks so nice to always have fresh herbs and have one of those vertical kind of gardens where you can have like a little bit of lettuce and herbs and kind of one thing. I think, yeah, my current place, it would be hard to actually fit that. And I'm also someone who doesn't have a green thumb at all. I can barely keep a plant alive. Like I'm really bad at remembering to water my plants. So I would have to work on that, but I think it would be super nice to just always have fresh herbs. Okay, there's a lot of black on this mint, but it should be okay. I also am a huge proponent of like, whether you're baking or if you're cooking, I think you should always try to use what you have at home. So even if like one of my recipes, say something calls for hazelnut flour, which I have used in a few recipes, at least at Food 52. If you don't have that, which is understandable because it can, one, be really expensive and it's also not the easiest to find, you could just use almond flour, for example. And I know sometimes it's hard to know exactly what to use instead of an ingredient, but I think it's really important to learn how to just like feel comfortable swapping one ingredient in for another, because sometimes you don't really feel like going to the store or you don't want to buy an ingredient, and it's nice to just be able to use kind of what you have at home and also just to be able to make it your own. Okay, I'm just gonna chop this mint up pretty finely. I should have done like a little julienne because I think it looks really pretty then with like little mini mint ribbons, but the mint just wasn't looking quite nice enough to do that. This is about a tablespoon. So right into the macerated strawberries, or the strawberry mixture. I also added a pinch of salt, just gonna help to balance the flavors out and to obviously brighten it up a little bit. And again, if I had a Saint Germain, I would add it. So if you have it at home, or if you feel like running to the store and get some, I definitely would recommend adding it to this recipe. So the thing about macerated strawberries or macerated berries is that you can make them pretty like far in advance, or not like that far in advance, but you could make this the day before and let them sit in the fridge overnight. Sometimes I feel like they get a little bit too mushy for my liking, at least. I like to have a little bit of bite still. So I like to make them about an hour or so before I'm gonna serve them, and that way they still kind of have a little bit of bite, as I just said, but also have had time to kind of release some of their juices. So I'm gonna let this sit in the fridge for a little bit. And also I have my little meringue cups that I just took out of the oven. They will look a lot better when you make them in your oven, I promise. But you can see that the tips are a little bit browned. And yeah, temperature really just affects meringue specifically so much. So they do sound nice though. Like nice and crunchy. I'm excited to finally like later like bite into one and see what the texture is like on the inside. But not too bad actually. Also, our living room and dining room is packed right now because we have a big couch that just came. Well, it's not big, but it looks big. So we have a part over there, and then we have that piece, and then we have these two massive boxes as well. And then we still have our couch back there, so we're gonna have to sell it, but we're gonna try to fit both of them in here in the interim. So now that the strawberries have sat for a little bit, you can see how much juice they have kind of started to release. Okay, so it's definitely starting to get a little bit dark, so I'm gonna try to finish these kind of quickly, just so that I, one, either don't have to wait until tomorrow, and also so I can show you the final results. So I have my little meringue cups here. We already talked about how I'm not super happy with them, but they look fine. And I think I'm gonna serve them on this. I will only have room for, I think, about 5 on here, so you could obviously use like a slightly bigger platter. That's kind of what I have right now. I have the macerated strawberries, and then now the last thing I'm gonna do is just whip a little bit of heavy cream. I feel like heavy cream is probably the ingredient that I try to keep on hand the most, that and butter, obviously, and then other baking ingredients. But I feel like heavy cream is something that I use in a lot of my recipes. I meant to measure, but I kind of just went for it, and I think this is about 1 cup. Usually a lot of these containers, 1 pint is 2 cups, so you can kind of just measure by doing half. I think I'm gonna hand whip this just because I don't feel like getting the electric whip mixer back out, but it does also take a while. I'm not too lazy to mix by hand, but I am too lazy to take the electric mixer out. I feel like that logic doesn't really make sense. But there's just something annoying about having to get a whole appliance out. So I think I'm just gonna do it this way. But I actually have to hurry because I have to go to dinner soon. Me and some of my coworkers are going to dinner at this place in, I think, not Chinatown, maybe, Lower East Side. And yeah, we just haven't gone to dinner together in a long time. So we made this plan a few weeks ago, and I'm excited because I kind of wanted to do something tonight anyway, and then I remembered I had these plans, so I feel like it's perfect. Okay, I think we are there. I like a really soft whip. Also, as a heavy cream or as whipped cream sits, it will start to kind of thicken on its own. And it also goes from kind of like soft peaks to stiff peaks really, really fast. So you want to be really careful, but I think this looks perfect, honestly. That's kind of the best thing about this type of recipe is it takes a little bit of time because obviously you have to whip meringue, and then you have to bake the meringue, and then you have to wait for it to cool. But you can do this ahead of time. As long as you store them correctly, they should be okay for the next day. And then really all you have to do for assembly is make the macerated strawberries and whip the cream. So it's a really low effort recipe when you think of it that way. I'm not gonna fully go in. I'm just gonna kind of crack the top open like that. Then it's kind of like a regular pavlova where you break the center and then you fill the inside with cream and whatever other filling you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm actually not gonna serve all of them right now just because I have to run. Wow, there's so much on my counter, I didn't even realize. Besides the fact that they are a little bit browned, I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out. Cutie. I do wish I had made these before Easter because I think it would have been a really cute Easter recipe, but maybe Mother's Day, that is coming up kind of in like a month, or less than a month actually, so that would be cute. So you could either spritz these with like a piping bag or something, but I'm just keeping it super simple and just daubing in the whipped cream with a spoon. Bad that you guys can't really see close-ups of this, but I can try to get a hero shot by the window after. If you make this at home, I actually do think that you need to whip the full 2 cups of cream because it looks like I have a lot left in the bowl, but I actually don't have that much left. And I am only assembling 5, so if you were to assemble all 12, I do think you would need a bit more. It's so hard with whipped cream because you want it to be the perfect consistency so it will kind of like dollop really nicely. If it's over whipped, it just looks not as nice. I hope I didn't add too much cream because I don't want the strawberries to kind of like fall off. Try to avoid adding too much of the juices because it will kind of make some of the strawberries fall off. You can always go back in afterwards and drizzle some of that liquid on top. This looks like my ideal summer dessert. I'm gonna eat that and that. Clean this up a little bit just to make it look a little bit nicer. Okay, cute. Oh, forgot one here. Then I saved a little bit of mint to put on top. Just a few little leaves. Okay, I won't lie, these are slightly messy, but I'm kind of in a rush, so I'm gonna blame it on that. I think they're gonna taste really good though, and they still do look really cute. Okay, here they are. It's kind of hard to see, but aren't they so cute? And like they are the perfect Mother's Day or just summer treat, and so easy to make, bite-sized. Honestly, not too big at all. They're the perfect size. And I think sometimes it can be a little hard to transport like small pavlovas, but these ones you could easily just like pack up. Obviously you'd have to assemble them afterwards because you want the cream and strawberries and everything to be fresh. The actual meringue part, super easy to transport and also very easy to eat because you could just have that kind of cup and use a spoon and just eat out of that rather than having to serve them on a plate. So I'm gonna go by the window and try to see if I can take a better video for you guys. Okay, these are adorable. And here you can see better. Okay, look here. So if you add too much juice, it kind of slides off. And yes, please don't judge the meringue because again, my oven. But yeah, here they are. The cups are cute. I like you can see a little mint in the strawberries and they just look super fresh and light and summery. I feel like it was kind of hard to take like a really cute photo by the window because not only is it like 7:15 and the lighting is just not that great, I also just have so much stuff in here right now. It's kind of hard to like get in there because it's 7:15 and I have to leave in literally 5 minutes. I don't have time to like really get like the best photo ever, but I think I got what I needed and I think it will be good enough to post the recipe on Substack. Crack, so satisfying. Ooh, so good. So perfect. The pavlova, it's not so chewy, which I really like. It literally, again, tastes like a cloud. It's so soft, so creamy, and really fresh too with the strawberries and the mint. I feel like my camera is really dark right now, so hopefully I can increase the light a little bit and edit, but definitely recommend making this. It's so good and the mint is really good and it's just, yeah, I have nothing bad to say about this besides the brownie.